Hi everyone, I am pretty excited today. UGCS released a new release of their flight planning software version 4.4.232. If you didn't know, they have included ways to plan Lidar missions for both corridor and a general area. So I just want to go through and show you how to plan one of those missions real quick so you can see how it goes and how easy it makes things. I especially like using UGCS because I'm able to flight plan on a desktop, so do all my pre-flight planning, check out the topography because it does do DSMs and it does pull from SRTM databases, and it's just pretty easy to use, and especially now when we want to fly with Lidar because you really want to do terrain following. So let's get started. Just gonna start something random. I'm gonna choose the M300. Just gonna leave these settings, and then now let's see. So if you look at UGCS now, you'll see they changed these icons on the left. And then there'll be two that you see right here. You have the P and the L. P is for photogrammetry, L is for LiDAR area, and then you have the option for LiDAR area and LiDAR corridor, which is pretty sweet. So let's start planning a LiDAR area. So I have these settings already set up. I have it set up to be flown with a yellow scan mapper. So if we go through and we go look at the specs on the mapper, so the yellow scan mapper on the M300, we have a scanner field of view is going to be field of view degrees 81.70. So I put that in there. My flight altitude is going to be above ground, and if we actually go here, we have flight above ground 80 meters at 5 meters a second. So I'm going to net over 320 points per square meter, so I'll be happy with that. So 5 meters a second, flight height 80. And in general, I like to do 50% overlap just to make sure we have enough data coverage over everything. So after we do that, let's just start clicking. I have this area right here, Snake River. So let's say we want to map this area. Double click. And then you right click to end. So now if you look at the area right there, now it's going to go through and plan out the mapping. So if I fly this area at 80 meters with that field of view with a 50% overlap, this is what the mission is going to look like. It's pretty easy, so now we don't have to kind of guess the side overlap that we need, or really direct at the charts, or look at this chart again to see, what flight height or whatnot. This is good to figure out your point density, but in terms of flight planning, there's a lot less that you have to think about now that they include the field of view and how this is set up right here. So that is what it looks like for the area. And then for actually, the other thing is, you see these guys right here? So when we fly with LiDAR, you kind of have to, before you start your mission and before you land after your mission, you have to do calibration flights. And that is just to wake up the IMU to make sure that it's awake and keeps a proper trajectory and collects the proper data. A neat thing that they also included is this thing called loop turn angle right here. And what it does is, after all the straight sections, it programs in a loop. So after every straight section where the IMU could get lazy and fall asleep, and then you want to wake it up, at the very end it does that loop to wake it up, and then it goes on to the next one and it does a loop at the end of that. So it constantly is re-waking up and recalibrating and getting that IMU going again. So that's kind of a neat feature that they do now, and I like it a lot. I like how this flight plan or flight planning is done. And then now we can go look at the corridor mapping one. So for the corridor mapping, so let's click on Lidar corridor. Again, I have this set for a 200 meters width. The same field of view, same flight height, same overlap and everything. One thing right here in the camera, it doesn't have the mapper. If you actually go through the main menu, I'll go to my trees, you can pick the yellow scan mapper in here too, but it doesn't appear yet. I'm hoping they'll update it again and get that all figured out. But in terms of planning the corridor mission, it's the same deal as all other missions. So let's go through and click on this corridor. Double click again, double click. And then right click to end it. So then I'll go calculate my flight plan. So if I want my data collection width to be 200 meters, and take a look at that. It'll go through, and then we can go through and do show elevation, 48-minute flight with terrain falling. So that's kind of neat that they make it pretty easy like this to do. One thing that I'd like to try out more is trying to go through and split this mission up, because at 48 minutes, that's going to be more than one flight. So I'd like to split it up. In general, you can kind of pause it and then start it up at the next waypoint. But for me is I like to plan all my missions for one single flight. So I'll do one single flight. I don't do the pause and resume because sometimes it doesn't always work. So I'll always plan multiple missions per project. But yeah, this is pretty neat if you take a look at it. And yeah, if you have any questions, just let me know. Thank you.